Hi, welcome back to Mr. Recap. Today I will show you a thriller and survival movie called Leave the World Behind. Spoilers ahead, watch out. The story begins in New York City where we see a couple, Amanda and Clay, who are going somewhere to enjoy their weekend. But Clay is not happy with this idea because Amanda has rented a house near the sea without telling him, so they can enjoy their weekend there. Eventually, she convinces Clay, and the family sets off to enjoy their weekend. We also see their two kids, Archie and Rose. Soon, the family arrives at the house, but Amanda and Clay are quite surprised to see the house because it is beautifully designed. After that, the kids enjoy in the swimming pool, and Clay, watching them, says to Amanda that this plan of coming here was the best. After some time, Amanda goes to a nearby store to get some items, but suddenly she sees a man loading his car with a lot of supplies, including water bottles and food. But even then, she ignores it and goes back home, where Clay is cooking food. After that, the family heads to the beach, where Amanda is happy to see fewer people. But suddenly, Rose sees a ship in the distance coming slowly toward them. Still, the family ignores it and continues enjoying their weekend. But Rose's eyes stay fixed on that ship. Then her dad tells her that it might be an oil tanker, which is why it is so big. But even after some time, Rose is still sitting and staring only at that ship. Amanda then comes to her and asks what she is looking at. Rose says, "That ship, it's coming closer." As soon as Amanda looks up, she sees the ship very close, so she quickly wakes Clay up. Clay, seeing the ship close, says it's a normal thing. Often such ships appear bigger when they are close. But Amanda feels uneasy because the ship doesn't seem to be stopping and is heading straight toward them. Then Clay and Amanda grab their belongings and start running away with their kids because the ship comes directly to the shore and stops there, causing panic among everyone. After this incident, we see that the beach is closed down. But before leaving, Clay asks an officer about the situation. The officer says that the ship's GPS must have malfunctioned, which caused it to deviate from its course. The family, feeling sad, starts heading back home. But at the house, Rose and Archie are still busy having fun. Amanda then says to Clay, "Look at the kids, they don't even care that something happened today." Just then, Amanda notices two deer on the other side and calls Clay so he can see them too. Seeing the deer lifts both their moods. In the evening, when the kids are asleep, Amanda hears a strange noise. She asks Clay, "Did you hear that sound too?" But Clay replies, "What sound?" Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. They both get scared, wondering who could be there at this hour. Clay picks up a stick and goes outside to check. As soon as he opens the door, he sees George and his daughter Ruth. George apologizes, saying, "Sorry if we disturbed your sleep. At this time of night, no one usually comes around." Clay asks, "How can we help you?" Then George recognizes Amanda, and Amanda and Clay are surprised when George and Ruth say, "This is our house." Amanda herself spoke to me over email about renting it, but Amanda is completely shocked and doesn't believe it. George explains that they had to come back suddenly because there was a blackout where they were headed. Everything went dark, the power was out, traffic lights weren't working, and there was no phone network either, so they had to return. Clay is happy to see them and invites them in, but Amanda starts to feel uneasy. George says they were just looking for a safe place to stay, and this is their house, so they'll just spend the night here. But Amanda tells George that they can't stay with them because they've already booked the villa, and asks how it's even possible that they claim this is their house. Amanda quickly tries to call the rental company to complain, but her phone has no signal. George then offers to give back half the rent money and says they have nowhere else to go. They just need to stay one night and will sleep in the basement so as not to disturb them. George takes some money out from a cupboard and hands it to Clay, saying it's half the rent. Clay takes the money and agrees to let them stay, but Amanda still doesn't agree. She tells Clay, "We need to talk privately." When they go aside, Amanda tells Clay, "George and Ruth are lying. If something like that was really happening outside, they could have booked a hotel room." Clay reassures her and says, "Don't worry. If this wasn't their house, how did he take the money out of the cupboard? If they are lying, then we really do need to leave." Clay promises Amanda that he'll go downstairs and check, and if there's any problem, he'll handle it. They both go back to the living room, where George is making drinks for everyone. Amanda starts asking George some questions, and he has to answer all of them. While this is happening, Ruth turns on the TV. On the screen, it says, "National Emergency," which makes everyone worried. Now they start to believe that George and Ruth were telling the truth. Amanda then decides to let them stay for the night. George and Ruth go down to the basement to sleep, but Ruth gets angry and says, "This is our house, but we have to sleep in the basement." She tells her dad, "Make them leave," but George doesn't agree with her. He says, "I can't make them leave. We rented the house out, and now I have to let them stay." After that, the TV suddenly plays an emergency message. It says that all radio and TV stations will be shut down for now because of the blackout. Then another news report starts showing the whole country, explaining that there has been a big cyber attack. Suddenly, the TV shuts off again. The next morning, Rose goes into her parents' room and tells her mom that she can't watch the last episode of her favorite show because there's no network. She asks her mom to fix it quickly. After Rose leaves, Amanda checks her phone and sees some news alerts. The alerts say there's a blackout everywhere because of a power failure, and many things have stopped working because of a hacker attack. She quickly shows it to Clay, but Clay ignores it and says, "There's nothing to worry about." When Amanda checks her phone again, all the alerts have disappeared, like they were never there. This makes Amanda even more nervous, wondering what is really going on. Clay tells Amanda he's going to the market to get a newspaper. He says it might help them understand what's happening. Later, Rose sees a car outside and asks Amanda whose car it is. Amanda tells her about George and Ruth, that they had to come here last night because of the blackout, but Rose doesn't really understand. Then Clay comes over and Rose asks him to fix the TV because she wants to watch her show. Clay tries everything he can, but the TV still doesn't work. Feeling frustrated, Rose goes to sit by the pool. Suddenly, she sees some deer on the other side. She walks toward them to take a closer look. Meanwhile, Ruth wakes up from sleep, scared. It seems like she had a bad dream. She goes downstairs to get some coffee, where Amanda is already sitting in the kitchen. Amanda tells Ruth about the notifications she saw on her phone and says maybe all of this is being caused by hackers. Ruth finds it strange and asks how hackers could be behind something like this. While they are still talking, George comes in. Amanda tells him everything she just shared. George starts laughing and says it's probably just a simple problem, no need to panic. He compares it to the "I love you" bug, which was a computer virus from the year 2000. Amanda asks, "What is the "I love you" bug?" George explains that it was a virus that came as an email attachment. When someone clicked on it, it would send itself to everyone in their address book. Because of it, many companies lost money and some even went bankrupt. Later, it was discovered that two boys in the Philippines had created it just for fun. Then George tells Amanda he's going to visit his neighbor, Huxley, to see if he knows anything about what's going on. On the other side, Clay is on his way to the market, but he gets lost. Because there is no phone network, the GPS also isn't working, so he ends up driving around, confused, not knowing where to go. Back at the house, Rose tells Archie that she saw a large group of deer in the morning and feels like they were trying to communicate something. So Rose and Archie go toward the forest. There, they find a cabin. As soon as they go inside the cabin, they start to feel something strange. Meanwhile, George reaches Huxley's house, but finds it completely messy and broken down. As he looks around, he finds a satellite phone. He tries to use it to make a call, but even the satellite phone doesn't work, so he decides to head back home. But just before he leaves, he hears some strange sound. He follows the sounds and ends up at a beach. There, he sees a watch lying on the ground. As he bends down to pick it up, he notices that it's attached to a severed hand. George jumps back in fear and falls to the ground. Then he sees the dead body of a pilot, which scares him even more. Looking around, George realizes that an airplane has crashed on the beach, and it seems like everyone on board is dead. Suddenly, he sees another plane flying toward the same area. He starts running away in panic, but just moments later, that second plane also crashes on the beach. On the other side, Clay has no idea where he is, so he decides to head back home. But on the way, he sees a woman on the road. Clay stops his car, thinking maybe she needs help. The woman looks very scared and asks for help, but she speaks Spanish, and Clay doesn't understand what she's saying. She keeps begging for help in Spanish, but since Clay can't understand her, he drives away. Just then, Clay sees a drone in the sky. It's dropping some red-colored objects, which makes Clay even more panicked. He quickly speeds up the car and tries to get away from there. Meanwhile, Archie and Rose are still in the forest. Rose again sees the same deer, but as soon as she tells Archie to look, the deer disappears. At the same time, George comes back home. His clothes are completely wet. Ruth asks him why he's wet, and George says he fell into the pool. Ruth goes to get him some dry clothes. While she's gone, George quietly tells Amanda that when he went to Huxley's house, there was no one there, and even the satellite phone didn't work, which is strange because satellite phones are supposed to work during blackouts. George says he thinks hackers may have taken over US satellites, which is why communication is down. Amanda laughs and doesn't believe him. She thinks he's overreacting, but Ruth, without them knowing, is secretly listening to their conversation. Then George tells Amanda about the two plane crashes he saw at the beach. This finally worries Amanda a little. George adds, "I really don't think this is something made by kids in the Philippines." They're still talking when, suddenly, a loud, high-pitched sound is heard by everyone. Amanda panics and runs into the forest to find her kids. A little while later, the sound suddenly stops, and she finds Archie and Rose safe. Afterward, everyone gathers in the kitchen, trying to figure out how to escape this situation. George says they should wait for Clay, hoping he might know something. Amanda sends the kids upstairs so they don't get too stressed by what's happening. Then she remembers the man from the market, how he seemed to know something was coming, which is why he was taking so many supplies. Just as they're talking about that man, Clay returns. Everyone starts asking him if he found out anything. Clay says he never made it to the market because he got lost and doesn't even know how he found his way back. He also tells them he saw a drone dropping pamphlets, but he doesn't know what was written on them. He gives one of the pamphlets to George, but George can't understand it either. Then Archie walks in and looks at it. He says the front page says Death of America. Everyone stares at him, shocked. Archie explains that he saw this same phrase in a video game he played, but he doesn't know what's written on the backside of the pamphlet. After seeing everything that's been happening, Amanda and Clay decide that they will take the kids and go back to their own home. But George tries to explain that going back to the city could be dangerous. Still, the family doesn't listen to him and leaves anyway. While driving, they suddenly see a huge crash on the highway. Several Tesla cars are wrecked. Amanda gets out of the car to take a look, but she doesn't see anyone around. Clay also steps out to check. Just then, they notice another car coming toward them. Clay tries to signal the car to stop. Meanwhile, Amanda looks inside one of the crashed Teslas and sees a sticker that says, "This vehicle is fully autonomous, no human driver required." When Amanda reads this, she realizes that the Tesla heading toward them also doesn't have a driver. She quickly tells Clay, "Get back in the car." Clay doesn't fully understand, but he sits in the car quickly. Amanda swerves their car to the side. Just in time, the Tesla crashes into the other wrecked cars. Suddenly, more Teslas start coming toward them. Amanda drives fast and skillfully, barely escaping the crashing cars. And afterward, everyone returns again to George's house. Everyone sits together, trying to figure out what is happening. Amanda suggests that maybe the world outside has gone to war, and they're all dead. But Ruth, hearing this, starts thinking about her mom. She gets up and leaves the room crying. After that, Clay also leaves, upset. Amanda and George sit down to talk, but suddenly a loud noise is heard, and all the lights in the house explode, with glass shattering on its own. Meanwhile, Rose, who was alone in her room, gets scared. The next morning, when Amanda wakes up, Clay tells her that Rose is missing. Amanda thinks Rose might be in the basement, so she wakes up Archie. When Archie gets up, he feels something wrong and starts showing his teeth like he's about to transform, which scares Amanda. She calls for Clay to come quickly and see what Archie is doing. Clay also gets frightened, but Archie says he doesn't know what's happening to him. The entire family starts searching for Rose, but she's nowhere to be found. Amanda suggests that since Archie is not feeling well, they might need to take him to the hospital. But George says the highway is blocked and all the cars are destroyed. Even if they wanted to go to the city, it might be too dangerous. Clay asks Archie if he knows where Rose might have gone, and Archie mentions that they went to a cabin the day before, where Rose saw a herd of deer. So they decide to head to the jungle to find Rose. Meanwhile, Archie's health gets worse, so Clay and George try to take him to the hospital, but Ruth insists on going with them. George tells Ruth that she should stay back and look for Rose because it's too dangerous outside. Ruth, worried about them, makes George set a timer on her phone to return in an hour. So George, Clay, and Archie leave for Danny's house, while Amanda and Ruth go into the jungle to search for Rose. They don't find Rose at the cabin, which makes Amanda feel hopeless and start thinking about where Rose could be. Meanwhile, George, Clay, and Archie arrive at Danny's house, but Danny points a gun at them and tells them to leave, saying he won't help them. On the other side, Amanda finds tire tracks near the cabin and starts following them, hoping they'll lead to Rose. But as soon as she looks back, he sees many deer standing in front of Ruth. Ruth gets scared seeing the deer all around her, but just in time, Amanda comes to her and yells at the deer, hoping they might get scared and run away. However, at first, none of the deer are frightened. Then Ruth, looking at Amanda, also starts screaming like her, which causes the deer to run away. Back at Danny's house, Clay still pleads for Danny's help, but Danny refuses, and a fight breaks out between George and Danny, with George pulling out his gun. Clay steps in between, begging for help for his son. Danny still doesn't listen, so Clay offers him cash, telling him that the online network isn't working. He only has this much left. Danny finally agrees to help, taking the money and giving Archie some medicine. Danny also mentions that Koreans, or maybe the Chinese, could be behind all of this. Clay then shows him the pamphlet dropped by the drone, and Danny says his friend, who had been to Iraq 4 times, could explain what's written on it. Before they leave, George tells Clay that one of his clients is from the army, and he saw a program that terrified him. This program is quite simple, but powerful enough to destroy any country or government from within. Clay asks what this program is, and George explains. Stage 1, isolation, cutting off all communication and transportation to disconnect the target country from the outside world. Stage 2, synchronized attacks, creating fear and weakening defenses by spreading misinformation so people fight against each other, weakening weakening their military control. Stage 3. War and Civil War. Governments fall. George mentions that this program is the most cost-effective way to destroy a country because once the country is inactive, it becomes easier to control. Clay and Archie get scared hearing this, and suddenly, George's timer goes off. Meanwhile, Amanda and Ruth follow the tire tracks to a specific place where they find a large, beautiful house. Amanda hopes that Rose is there. Suddenly, Ruth's timer goes off. When Amanda goes to her, they both see destruction across the entire city, bombing everywhere, leaving them both in shock. Meanwhile, inside the house, Rose is sitting peacefully and eating snacks. As she's about to leave for her family, she suddenly spots a bunker. She goes inside and finds all kinds of facilities: worldwide food, a gym, a nice bed, a big TV, and many films and shows. Rose puts in her favorite show's DVD and watches the last episode, and the movie ends right there. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, as your subscription helps me make better videos. See you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.